Hey guys, Deathy here. Today, I'm going to be doing a highly requested video, a Shiv guide. So I put out a video about a week ago showcasing how I was using Shiv to win in high MMR games, and a lot of people have been asking me for a guide. First of all, know that there is an in-game guide, Deathy's Weapon Shiv top MMR build. You can go in. Now in today's video, I'm going to first start with the ability breakdown, so explaining each ability of Shiv. Then we're going to talk about Shiv's playstyle. And once we've talked about that, we'll move on to skill build, so what you should be putting your points into, and then we'll finish it off with itemization. Of course, this game changes a lot. Some of these things might become outdated, and I was a little bit fearful of making guide videos when in 2 weeks, some of these things might change. I'm going to try to focus on the more macro aspects and try to explain the logic behind all the decisions that I'm making so that you guys can apply these even if there are changes or nerfs. I'll also try to keep pumping out new videos if there are changes, and I'll also update the in-game guide. Let's get started. Killing Blow is Shiv's ultimate ability, but it's the one I'm going to start with because it has a passive that affects all of his other abilities. His active on Killing Blow is you can activate it to leap towards an enemy hero and instantly kill them if they are below the kill threshold. The kill threshold is 20%. If they are above that threshold, it will deal 200 damage to them. The passive part is damaging enemies fills you with rage. While you are at max rage, Shiv gains increased damage and special properties on his other abilities. So he gains 25% to all damage sources right now. This includes items, abilities, gun damage, anything. The special properties we'll talk about on each ability. Killing Blow's upgrades currently gives 2 meter per second move speed while at full rage, then an additional 8% to the enemy health threshold, and finally, the cooldown resets when you kill enemies with the final upgrade. Serrated Knives deals a small burst of damage and then damage over time. While you are at max rage, your knife ricochets to an additional enemy. Serrated Knives upgrades currently give +1 charges, +2 second bleed duration, and +40 damage and +5 bleed DPS for the max upgrade. Slice and Dice is Shiv's second ability. It allows you to perform a dash forward, dealing a burst of damage along the path. While you are at full rage, an echo of this dash will also come out behind you. Here's what that looks like. Slice and Dice upgrades currently include -4 second cooldown, +85 damage, and the final upgrade reduces cooldown by 2 seconds per enemy hero hit, and 1 second for non-heroes, so creeps and neutrals, for a maximum of 6 seconds per dash. What's important to know about this is that the echo is considered to be a second dash, which means that the maximum reduction that you can get is actually 12 seconds. Bloodletting is Shiv's passive ability and is what allows him to be so tanky. Bloodletting defers a percentage of incoming damage. By default, it's 30%. The default duration over which that damage is taken is 10 seconds. While you are at full rage, the amount of damage deferred is increased by 15%, bringing it to a total of 45%. Bloodletting's upgrades currently include +5 seconds to deferred damage duration, -5 seconds to the cooldown, and +25% to the deferred damage cleared. You can also activate this ability to clear a percentage of the deferred damage. By default, this percentage is 50%, but if you upgrade it, it becomes 75%. Let's talk a little bit about Shiv's playstyle. Shiv is mostly played as a disruptor in fights. His goal is to get in, distract a lot of people, and deal tons of AoE damage using his knives, his slice and dice, and most of all, his ultimate. This playstyle greatly benefits him because he's the tankiest hero due to his passive. Shiv loves close quarter fights. For example, hallways like these greatly benefit him because of the way Slice and Dice and the Echo works. Since you want the Echo to hit, it's very ideal for him to fight in tunnels or in closed encounters like this because it's much easier for you to hit the Echo on your dash and much harder for enemies to dodge it. If you're hitting the Echo on multiple enemies, you can have a very low cooldown dash, sometimes 0 seconds. Here's a clip of what that looks like.
Yo, Infernus right here. There's two.
I've been black holed. I've literally been solo black holed. The fact that I'm alive is a crime against humanity.
Oh. Man, we just don't have enough players here. Also just a really awkward
I parried someone!
Oh my god, I lived. That's actually insane. Shiv's entire kit currently revolves around him being able to recover some of the damage from bloodletting. So the damage is only deferred, meaning he still takes it. This means that he needs a way to recover life in order to stay alive. There are currently no good health regen items in the game, which means that lifesteal is the only option for Shiv to stay alive. This means that all Shiv builds, regardless of what abilities you max or what items you build, rely on some form of lifesteal in order to be effective. This might change in the future if there are good health regen items. As you can see in this clip, Shiv does not defer damage from barriers. This means that you should never build barriers on Shiv because you're not making use of your passive. Let's talk about skill build. What should your skill build be? Currently, Shiv has two damaging abilities, Slice and Dice and Serrated Knives. Usually, I would recommend that you max one of these two. Eventually, you'll want both of these two maxed, but depending on which way you prefer to build, I would start with one or the other. Currently, I find that maxing Slice and Dice first is good for fighting and farming, because the cooldown reduction makes it so you can farm the jungle and lane creeps much faster. It also allows you to farm T3 camps quite early. However, if you preferred the bleed playstyle, you should max your knife first because it doubles your bleed DPS, which is extremely significant. Once you've maxed either knife or slice and dice, you're going to want to max your passive bloodletting next. This makes you significantly tankier, as getting the extra deferred damage duration already makes it easier to heal back the damage, but then the reduced cooldown and the extra deferred damage cleared really make your hero feel nearly unkillable. So regardless of your build, I usually always max this second. Once your passive is maxed, depending on your skill build, you have two options. If you went the knife route, this means that you'll have your knife maxed and your passive maxed. I would usually at this point, sometime in between, have put a value point in my slice and dice, as well as a value point in my ultimate, because the first points are very valuable on these. However, the next thing that you should max, depending, if you went the knife build, I would usually max slice and dice next to be more effective in team fights. However, if you went the slice and dice build, I would max the ultimate before putting any points in the knives, because if you're going for the dash build, you don't necessarily benefit from the knives at all, depending on your itemization. We'll talk more about that later. If you want to follow the exact skill build order that I'm doing right now on my popular build, feel free to follow the in-game guide. You should see that it has the skill build enabled in it, so you'll be able to just follow along. As you can see, I currently max slice and dice without putting any other points in it. Then I get 1 point in bloodletting, 1 point in my ultimate. Then I max my passive, max my ultimate, and only then will I put points in knives. This is very playstyle dependent, as I don't really like the bleed knife playstyle at the moment. I don't think it's as strong as the gun build, and we'll talk a little bit why in the itemization. All right, moving on to the items. First of all, laning stage items. Laning stage items are always going to be a little bit situational depending on what happens in the lane. I'm going to go over every single item and explain why I like to get this item early, in which situations I get it, and in which situations maybe you should not get it. Restorative Shot is a nice sustain. It just got buffed to 35 health if you hit a hero. However, if you buy this item, you have to be very, very conscious of the cooldown of it, and you should always be shooting heroes every 6 seconds. If you do so, you're getting almost 6 health per second regen on top of the weapon damage that it gives you and the additional bullet resistance. Overall, I would say that if you feel you need a little bit more sustain in the lane, Restorative Shot is an excellent option. However, it's not mandatory, and I don't go it every single lane. Extra stamina is, however, a mandatory item, and I always go it every single game. The reason for that is because it allows you to fight more, it allows you to gank more, and just being mobile in a game that has a large map is very important. Therefore, I would always buy extra stamina. Extra health is a ton of value for Shiv early, as he benefits greatly from having a larger health pool due to how his passive works. I like picking this up early because it allows me to play a little bit more aggressive in the laning stage and go for riskier plays because I have a lot more health. Also, opponents very often do not pick up green items early or not enough green items early, which means that if you pick up some smart green items, you're able to outtrade them very often. As you can see, I don't currently have any items, and buying extra health would give me 226 health, as well as 5% weapon damage. Mystic Burst is really just to get some extra damage on your slice and dice. Usually, this is not the first thing that I'll get. I'll usually prioritize gun items. But if you want a little bit of extra damage on your dash in order to kill people, this is an excellent pickup. High Velocity Mag is a new addition. This will most likely change. This item is not inherently good on Shiv. The only reason that we currently have it in is because of the new item Headhunter, which builds from High Velocity Mag. We'll talk about that item in just a second, but it's currently very, very strong, which is why we build it. Berserker, I would say, is one of the core items on Shiv. It benefits greatly from the character in general. You get extra weapon damage per stack, up to a maximum of 10 stacks. At 10 stacks, you get 50% weapon damage, which is a ton for a 1250 item. And Shiv is always taking damage because you always want to be initiating and getting in there. The last item is a Headshot Booster. Headshot Booster is just a little bit inherently broken in its laning stage. The reason for that is because it's a burst of harass that you can get while peeking around corners. So every 7 seconds, you can just headshot someone and get an extra 45 damage as long as they're not too far away. It does do damage fall off a little bit. This might change in the future. Headshot Booster is not necessarily an item that's broken on Shiv by concept, but right now it feels very valuable. Situationally, in the laning stage, you'll want to buy Healing Right. Healing Right when you're taking a lot of harass. So if you're consistently around half health, I would suggest Restorative Shot. But if you're getting down to maybe a third health and you really need to heal, Healing Right is an extremely valuable item that can get you to full health pretty quickly. Reactive Barrier is another situational item. This item is very good against specific matchups that rely on stuns in order to get a kill on you. There are a few of these matchups, but I would say right now in the laning stage, the two heroes that I buy it against the most are Bebop and Abrams. Bebop's hook procs it as well as his uppercut, so if he uses any of these abilities on you, you'll instantly get 400 bullet shield health and 200 spirit shield health, which means that his hook combo will do almost 0 damage to you. It also works against Abrams' charge, even if he doesn't stun you. So as long as he charges you, you just get 600 health right away. This makes it so you pretty much cannot die against Abrams in lane. Let's talk a little bit about the core items. So there's a few different options, and here in this build, I have included some of them, but not necessarily all of them. There's Heroic Aura, which is nice because it gives you bullet lifesteal, bonus health, and movement speed passively. And then you have an active which gives you extra fire rate and extra movement speed. This is particularly nice because you can pop it to chase enemies, run after them, and just gun them down with the extra fire rate. This item also enables you to farm because it gives you bullet lifesteal without taking a green slot, which Shiv is very contested for green slots as there's a lot of tanky items he wants to build. So usually you want to not build too many lifesteal items in your green slots. Bullet Resist Shredder is a great item if you're playing the gun build. It gives minus 12% bullet resist as long as you deal spirit damage. Shiv has a lot of ways to deal spirit damage. His dash does spirit damage, his knife does spirit damage, and so does his ultimate. So you're pretty much always going to have this active on enemies, and it lasts 8 seconds. Improved cooldown is very nice on Shiv. It works on all of your abilities, but you're mostly getting it for your dash as well as your passive. As with improved cooldown on your dash, you actually can have like 0 cooldown dash if you hit a couple heroes. Healbane is very nice on Shiv because it's instant heal. So the reason it's nice is, let's say that you're in a fight, you're taking a lot of damage. A lot of that damage is being deferred over a certain period. And then if you get instant healing, you can instantly counter that damage, even if because you're taking it over 10 to 15 seconds. So I find this very valuable because Shiv is very often able to get 1 kill, especially with his ultimate. So being able to heal after a kill is very valuable. Improved Burst is a very good item on Shiv because he has a very reliable way to proc it, which is his dash. I would almost always buy this item at some point in the game, but I would buy it later rather than earlier, unless you're doing a spirit-based build, which this build guide is not about. This is more focused on the gun version. However, it's always a valuable pickup because you get 10% max health bonus damage on your ability. So let's say that they have 2,000 health, that's an extra 200 damage. So usually it's an extreme value item as far as bang for your buck goes. Headhunter does not feel like it should be a Shiv item, and yet I think right now it's the most broken item on Shiv. The reason for that is because of its passive. Landing a headshot deals bonus damage, heals you for a portion of your max HP, and briefly grants you bonus movement speed. So the bonus damage is nice for Shiv, but what really makes the item stupid on Shiv is the health per headshot. So right now you get 8% health per headshot, and this is affected by healing booster, by the way, if you buy the item. And the move speed is also really nice. This is instant healing, so it doesn't heal you over 5 seconds or anything like that. So you just instantly, every 6 seconds, you can get 8% of your health back. This is absolutely insane on Shiv, and right now I believe that you should be rushing this item right out of the laning stage. As far as luxuries go, there are a couple options. I've included most of the items that I consider to be really, really good here, but there are some others. Of course, if your game goes long enough, you'll need more items than what I've put there to buy, but I assume that most of these games, this is going to be more than enough to spend your souls on. The first luxury that you should buy every game is Leech. Leech is absolutely mandatory on Shiv. For those who have seen my video, you saw that I rushed Siphon Bullets before. I now think that after the Siphon Bullets nerfs, you should rush Leech before. This is also because of the Shiv nerfs. Since Shiv is a little bit weaker as a hero, he needs a little bit more tools to sustain early on. So Leech is absolutely mandatory on him. It's the first tier 4 item that I will buy. After you've bought Leech, you've got a couple options. You can go the route of being tankier through improved armors, for example, Spirit or Bullet, depending on what you need. Or you can go the route of more damage through Siphon Bullets if you're not having issues surviving. This also gives you a little bit of tankiness. Or if you're having issues being controlled, Unstoppable is a fantastic item as well. For example, let's say that they have a Dynamo, they have an Infernus, they have a Wraith, and what they're doing is they're just controlling you and killing you quickly, and there's nothing you can do. In those situations, I would buy Unstoppable in order to still be able to have impact. There are a bunch of other items that you can buy. For example, Curse is almost always a valuable pickup on any character. Inhibitor reduces your enemy's damage, making Shiv feel even tankier, as well as adding some movement slow and significant weapon damage and bonus health. Vampiric Burst allows you to activate it to get a ton of lifesteal, as well as extra ammo and fire rate, making it so Shiv can turn around a fight even if he's low. There's also the situational item, Debuff Remover. If you're against Pocket or Infernus, which are some of Shiv's hardest counters, you probably need this item. Shiv's counters include damage over time, and particularly Pocket Ult, because if the damage from Pocket Ult gets deferred, it can be lethal against you. There's also Infernus's damage, which is the same logic. So against these heroes, I would usually buy Debuff Remover. That's it for the itemization. I think that about covers it. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to post in the comments, and feel free to join my Discord to talk a little bit more about Shiv as well as other heroes. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.